it's not really chain of thought, it's, or chain of consciousness style. It's more like, oh, what's the term? It's like impressionistic. It gives you like little blossoms, little flashes of color and images into his life, his childhood and Christmas in Wales. And it's gorgeous. It's not a continuous story like it's like more like flashes of memory all in one essay. So anyway, I just want to enjoy the story, so I'm gonna try and stop rambling. And I'm gonna hope that I am close enough to the camera and not whispering too loudly or too softly. And we'll begin. I might have to do this in 2 parts because I'm not sure how long of a YouTube video I'm allowed to put up. A Child's Christmas in Wales by Dylan Thomas. One Christmas was so much like another in those years around the Seatown corner, now and out of all sound except the distant speaking of voices I sometimes hear a moment before sleep, that I can never remember whether it snowed for 6 days and 6 nights when I was 12, or whether it snowed for 12 days and 12 nights when I was 6. All the Christmases rolled down towards the two-tongued sea like a cold and headlong moon bundling down the sky that was our street, and they stop at the rim of the ice edge to fish freezing waves, and I plunge my hands in the snow and bring out whatever I can find. In goes my hand into that white bell-tongued ball of holidays resting at the rim of the carol-singing sea, and out come Mrs. Prospero and the firemen. It was the afternoon of Christmas Eve, and I was in Mrs. Prothero's garden, waiting for the cats, with her son Jim. It was snowing. It was always snowing at Christmas. December, in my memory, is white as Lapland, though there were no reindeers, but there were cats, patient, cold, and callous. Our hands wrapped in socks, we waited to snowball the cats. Sleek and long as jaguars and horrible whiskered, spitting and snarling, they would slink and sidle over the white back garden walls, and the lynx-eyed hunters, Jim and I, fur-capped and moccasin trappers from Hudson Bay, off Mumple's Road, would hurl our deadly snowballs at the green of their eyes. The wise cats never appeared. We were so still, Eskimo-footed Arctic marksmen in the muffling silence of the eternal snows, eternal ever since Wednesday, that we never heard Mrs. Prothero's first cry from her igloo at the bottom of the garden. Or if we heard it at all, it was to us like the far-off challenge of our enemy and prey, the neighbor's polar cat. But soon the voice grew louder. "Fire!" cried Mrs. Prothero, and she beat the dinner gong. And we ran down the garden with the snowball in our arms towards the house, and smoke, indeed, was pouring out of the dining room, and the gong was bombilating, and Mrs. Prothero was announcing ruin, like a town crier in Pompeii. This was better than all the cats in Wales standing on the wall in a row. We bounded into the house, laden with snowballs, and stopped at the open door of the smoke-filled room. Something was burning, all right. Perhaps it was Mr. Prothero, who always slept there after midday dinner with a newspaper over his face. But he was standing in the middle of the room, saying "A fine Christmas," and smacking at the smoke with a slipper. "Call the fire brigade," cried Mrs. Prothero, as she beat the gong. "They won't be there," said Mr. Prothero. "It's Christmas." There was no fire to be seen, only clouds of smoke, and Mr. Prothero standing in the middle of them, waving his slipper as though he were conducting. "Do something," he said, and we threw all our snowballs into the smoke. I think we missed Mr. Prothero, and ran out of the house to the telephone box. "Let's call the police as well," Jim said, "and the ambulance. And Ernie Jenkins, he likes fires." But we only called the fire brigade, and soon the fire engine came, and 3 tall men in helmets brought a hose into the house, and Mr. Prothero got out just in time before they turned it on. Nobody could have had it for Christmas Eve. When the firemen turned off the hose and were standing in the wet, smoky room, Jim's aunt, Miss Prothero, hear a small boy says, "It snowed last year too. I made a snowman and my brother knocked it down, and I knocked my brother down, and then we had tea." But that was not the same snow, I say. Our snow was not only shaken from whitewash buckets down the sky, it came shoaling out of the ground and swam and drifted out of the arms and hands and bodies of the trees. Snow grew overnight on the rooftops of the houses like pure and grandfather moss, minutely ivying the walls and settled on the postman opening the gate like a dumb, numb thunderstorm of white-adorned Christmas cards. Were there postmen then, too? With the sprinkling eyes and the wind-cherried nose on the spread frozen feet, they crunched up the doors and mittened on them manfully. But all the children could hear was the ringing of the bells. You mean that the postman went rat-a-tat-tat and the doors rang? I mean that the bells the children could hear were inside them. I only hear thunder sometimes, never bells. There were church bells, too. Inside them? No, no, no. In the black bat snow-white belfries tugged by bishops and storks, and they ran their tidings over the bandaged town, over the frozen foam of powder and ice cream hills, over the crackling sea. It seemed that all the churches boomed for joy under my window, and the weathercocks crew for Christmas on our fence. Get back to the postmen. They were just ordinary postmen, fond of walking in dogs and Christmas in the snow. They knocked on the doors with blue knuckles. Ours has a black knocker. And then they stood on the white welcome mat in the little drifted porches and huffed and puffed, making ghosts with their breath, and jogged from foot to foot like small boys wanting to go out. And then the presents. And then the presents after the Christmas box. And the cold postman with a rose on his button nose tinkled down the tea-tray slithered run of the chilly glinting hill. He went in his ice-bound boots like a man on a fishmonger's slabs. He wagged his bag like a frozen camel's hump, dizzily turned a corner on one foot, and by gosh, he was gone. Get back to the presents. There were the useful presents, engulfing mufflers of the old coach days, and mittens made for giant sloths, zebra scarves of a substance like silky gum that could be tug-of-war down to the galoshes, blinding tam-o'-shanters like patchwork tea-cozies, and bunny-suited busbies and balaclavas for victims of head-shrinking tribes. From aunts who always wore wool next to the skin that were mustached and rasping vests that made you wonder why the aunts had any skin left at all. And once I had a little crutched nose bag from an aunt, now, alas, no longer whinnying with us. And pictureless books in which small boys, though warned with quotations not to, would skate on Bargyle's pond and did and drowned, and the books told me everything about the wasp, except why. Go on to the useless presents. Bags of moist-colored and many-colored jelly babies, and folded flag, and false nose, and a tram conductor's cap, and a machine that punched tickets and rang a bell. Never a catapult. Once, by mistake, that no one could explain, a little hatchet, and a celluloid duck that made, when you pressed it, a most unduck-like sound, a mewing moo that an ambitious cat might make who wished to be a cow, and a painting book in which I could make the grass, the trees, the sea, and the animals any color I pleased, and still the dazzling sky-blue sheep are grazing in the red field under the rainbow-billed and pea-green birds. Hard-boiled toffee, fudge, and all sorts, crunches, cracknels, Humburgs, glaciers, marzipan, and butterwelsh for the Welsh, and troops of bright tin soldiers who, if they could not fight, could always run, and snakes and families, and happy ladders, and easy hobby games for little engineers, complete with instructions. Oh, easy for Leonardo, and a whistle to make the dogs bark, to wake up the old man next door, to make him beat on the wall with his stick and shake the pictures out off the wall. And a pack of cigarettes, you put one in your mouth and you stood at the corner of the street and you waited for hours in vain for an old lady to scold you for smoking a cigarette, and then with a smirk you ate it, and then it was breakfast under the balloons. Were there uncles like in our house? There are always uncles at Christmas, the same uncles, and on Christmas morning, the dog-disturbing whistles and sugar fags, I would scour the Swatch down for news of the little world and find always a perhaps a robin, all but one of his fires out. Men and women waiting or scooping back from chapel, with tapeworm noses and wind-bust cheeks, all albinos, huddles their stiff black jarring feathers against the irreligious snow. Mistletoe hung from the gas brackets in the front parlors. There was sherry and walnuts and bottled beer, and crackers by the dessert spoons, and cats in their fur-abouts watched the fires, and the high-heaped fire spat, all ready for the chestnuts and the mulling pokers. Some few large men sat in front of the parlors without their collars, uncles almost certainly, trying their new cigars, holding them out judiciously at arm's length, returning them to their mouths, coughing, then holding them out again as though waiting for the explosion. And some few small aunts, not wanted in the kitchen, or anywhere else for that matter, sat on the very edge of their chairs, poised and brittle, afraid to break, like faded cups and saucers. Not many those mornings trod the billing streets. An old man always, fawn-bowlered, yellow-gloved, and at this time of year with spats of snow, would take his constitutional to a white bowling green and back, as he would take it wet, or fire, or Christmas Day, or Doomsday. Sometimes two hale young men with pipes blazing, no overcoats, and wind-blown scars would trudge, unspeaking, down to the forlorn sea, to work up an appetite, to blow away the fumes, who knows, to walk into the waves until nothing of them was left but two furling smoke clouds of their indistinguishable briars. Then I would be slap-dashing home, the gravy smell of dinner, of others, the bird smell, the brandy, the pudding and mince, coiling up to my nostrils, when out of the snow-clogged side lane would come a boy, the spit of myself, with a pink-tipped cigarette and the violet past of a black eye, cocky as a bullfinch, leering all to himself. I hated him on sight and sound, and would be about to put the dog whistle to my lips and blow him off the face of Christmas, when suddenly he, with a violent wink, would put his whistle to his lips and blew so stridently, so high, so exquisitely loud, that gobbling faces, their cheeks bulged with goose, would press against their tinseled windows the whole length of the white echoing street. For dinner we had turkey and blazing pudding, and after dinner the uncles sat in front of the fire, loosened all buttons, put their large moist hands over their watch change, groaned a little, and slept. Mothers, aunts, and sisters scuttled to and fro, bearing tureens. Auntie Bessie, who had already been frightened twice by a clockwork mouse, whimpered at the sideboard and had some elderberry wine. The dog was sick. Aunt Dowsie had to have 3 aspirins, but Auntie Hannah, who liked port, stood in the middle of the snow-bound backyard, singing like a big bosomed thrush. I would blow up balloons to see how big they would blow up, too, and when they burst, which they all did, the uncles jumped and rumbled. In the rich, heavy afternoon, the uncles breathing like dolphins and the snow descending. I would sit among festoons and Chinese lanterns and nibble dates and try to make a model man-of-war following the instructions for little engineers and produce what might be mistaken for a sea-going tram car. I think I'm gonna just pause for a second. I think I'm gonna make it in one video, but I just need a moment to get a drink of water, so 1 second. Or I would go out, my bright new boots squeaking into the white world, onto the seaward hill, to call on Jim and Dan and Jack, and to pad through the still streets, leaving huge footprints on the hidden pavements. I bet people will think there's been hippos. What would you do if you saw a hippo coming down our street? I'd go like this, bang! I'd throw him over the railings and roll down the hill, and then I'd tickle him under the ear and he'd wag his tail. What would you do if you saw 2 hippos? Iron-flanked and bellowing he-hippos clanked and battered through the scuttling snow toward us as we passed Mr. Daniel's house. Let's post Mr. Daniel a snowball through his letterbox. Let's write things in the snow. That's right, Mr. Daniels looks like a spaniel all over his lawn. Or he'd walk on the white shore. Can the fishes see it snowing? The silent, one-clouded heavens drifted onto the sea. Now we were snow-blinded travelers lost in the North Hills, the vast dewlap dogs with flasks around their necks dogs ambled and shambled up to us, baying, "Excelsior!" We returned home through the poor streets, where only a few children fumbled with bare red fingers in the wheel-rutted snow, and Cat called after us, their voices fading away as we trudged uphill into the cries of the dock birds and the hooting of the ship out in the whirling bay. And then at tea, the recovered uncles would be jolly, and the ice cake loomed in the center of the table like a marble grave. Aunt Hannah laced her tea with rum, because it was only once a year. Bring out the tall tales now that we told by the fire as the gaslight bubbled like a diver. Ghosts wooed like owls in the long night when I dared not look over my shoulder. Animals lurked in the cubbyhole under the stairs and the gas meter ticked. And I remember that we were singing Christmas carols once when there wasn't the shaving of a moonlight in the flying streets. At the end of a long road was a drive that led to a large house, and we stumbled up the darkness of the drive that night, each one of us afraid, each one of us holding a stone in his hand in case, and all of us too brave to say a word. The wind through the trees made noises as of old and unpleasant, and maybe web-footed men wheezing in caves. We reached the black bulk of the house. What shall we give them? Hark the herald. No, Jack said, good King Wenceslas. I'll count 3. 1, 2, 3, and began to sing, our voices high and seemingly distant in the snow-filled darkness around the house that was occupied by nobody we knew. We stood close together near the dark door. Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen. And then a small, dry voice, like the voice of someone who has not spoken for a long time, joined our singing. A small, dry, eggshell voice from the other side of the door. A small, dry voice through the keyhole. And when we stopped running, we were outside the house. The front room was lovely. The balloons floated under the hot water bottle, gulping gas, and everything was good again and shone over the town. Perhaps it was a ghost, Jim said. Perhaps it was trolls, Dan said, who was always reading. Let's go in and see if there's any jelly left, Jack said, and we did. Always on Christmas night, there was music. An uncle played the fiddle. A cousin sang Jerry Ripe, and another uncle sang Drake's Drum. It was very warm in the little house. Aunt Hannah, who had got onto the parsnip wine, sang a song about bleeding hearts and death, and another in which she said her heart was like a bird's nest.